So my own initiatory experience with psychedelics, high dose synthetic psilocybin, at the NYU FDA phase 2 clinical trials, where I was wearing headphones and listening to a playlist, which is a variant on what's called the Johns Hopkins playlist, which is used by many of the research institutions working on psychedelic medicine for the treatment of various disorders, PTSD, opioid addiction, etc. This experience, which was extremely successful in terms of, I never drank alcohol again. It, however, was just the beginning of my journey into the relationship of psychedelics and sound and music. And that journey certainly was not a linear one at all. I felt during the NYU trial journeys that while the music was sometimes material that I liked and worked, at other times it pulled me out of the experience, and I was always aware that I was wearing and listening to really not very good sound delivery equipment, meaning these mediocre headphones. And I was so deep in the experience that I wasn't spending any time thinking about what I do. But afterwards, I did wonder what sound equipment like what we make at Oswald's Mill Audio and Fleetwood Sound and psychedelics, what that combination would be like. But it was several years before I took another psychedelic substance. COVID, the pandemic intervened, and I wasn't. I had such a wrenching experience that I wasn't ever going to do psychedelics recreationally or take it lightly. I was like, when the time comes and something, an experience presents itself, that would be that would be how I would continue this journey. I was introduced to a man who has pioneered what is called sound meditation, Alexander Tanous, extremely brilliant ethnomusicologist, musician. I believe he was at Columbia for a while, and he has a site called soundmeditation.com, and many very, very good resources to be found on that site and podcasts. He came to visit me at my studio, introduced by a mutual friend, and I understood with what he was doing in sound meditation using acoustical instruments such as gongs, Tibetan singing bowls, chimes. These are instruments that have very rich, dense, and natural harmonic overtones. These are instruments that are also extremely hard to reproduce using conventional audio equipment, whether it's professional audio equipment or high-end home hi-fi. And with Tanous, I was able to start to understand how sound as energy and the relationships with natural harmonics and overtones, how this energy works in the mind, in the brain, and the mind as a larger construct than just the brain. And this started to open up a path for me, a path of inquiry and experience that I wanted to develop for the audio equipment that has really guided my life for the last 20 years. In short, I was wondering how these substances, psychedelic medicine, could be improved, the experience, the therapeutic modalities of these substances could be made more effective if they were paired with the kind of equipment that we make. Specifically, I thought that instead of headphones, for example, at places like NYU, Johns Hopkins, or some of the other research universities, institutions that are doing clinical trials or exploratory work on psychedelic medicine, if the sound quality could have as important an effect on the outcome on the subjects as, for example, dosage, or I think we should talk about the quality of the substance itself. As an alcoholic, alcoholics know that you're going to feel better if you drink really good booze, really good wine. Certainly your hangover is going to be less. Your high is going to be better. Nobody is going to choose, on the one hand, a glass of box wine or really cheap rut gut booze if they can have a really great glass of wine or a bottle of wine or a really fine scotch or cognac. And in the same way, no one is going to, if offered a choice between a really pure, high-quality drug, psychedelic, LSD, for example, or a really poorly made one, no one's going to choose the bad one, because you know that the experience is going to be better. You're going to have a better outcome if the actual material that you're ingesting is of a higher quality. You are going to be careful about the dosage of what you're taking. But when it comes to sound, and this has to do with the way sound is working culturally in a larger sense, everyone just takes sound for granted. And so the way that the scientific work is being conducted or the private therapeutic work is being conducted, sound is not considered to be of any real importance in this whole process. I attended the MAPS conference, which is, MAPS is the largest and most important organization, not-for-profit, working on psychedelic medicine in the world today. This conference was in Denver last year. It lasted about a week. There were tens of thousands of attendees. And looking through the program for the week, I couldn't find a single seminar, talk, any type of program about sound quality, and psychedelics. So literally, there is no one in the scientific world who is taking sound quality as a legitimate variable in the process of psychedelic medicine today. There are people who are trying to figure out how to deliver program material content more effectively, which means more economically, more easily and cheaply. But no one is actually looking at the quality of the sound as a variable in the equation about how effective psychedelics can be with sound. Now, where this is really interesting is when you start to realize that no one, either historically or geographically, has been using psychedelics throughout human history without sound and music. You can't find any examples of indigenous people anywhere in the world, whether it's people in the Amazon, Shipibo, Hunikuin, Inca, who use substances like ayahuasca, or in Central America and Mexico, with substances like magic mushrooms, psilocybin, or iboga. Ibogaine is the active psychedelic compound in iboga, which is a very powerful psychedelic drug that is coming from Central Africa. All of the recorded uses of these substances in these cultures involve music and sound. No one is ever using or taking psychedelics without sound and music. And there are I know of no scientific work being done that doesn't rely on a music sound playlist for the subjects to guide the whole process. So, what we've got is psychedelics which are always coupled with sound, but we're just ignoring the sound part. And specifically, again, back to what I do, the sound quality part. So while people may pay attention to what songs and in what order and what kind of narrative arc are being created for the playlist for your experience, because the different drugs have different durations. Some non-classic psychedelics, such as ketamine, the duration can be as little as about an hour. And some psychedelics, such as ayahuasca, can go 10 or 12 hours, or LSD. Sound quality has been ignored. If you are fortunate to be in an experience of a psychedelic where actual acoustic instruments are being played and you're in pretty close proximity, the sound quality will be as good as the instruments and the musician. But when you start to deal with headphones and clinical environments, then it's a lowest sort of threshold of sound delivery, and the effectiveness of the psychedelic experience, I believe, is actually not fully realized. So what I became interested in, initially through my encounters with Tanus and his work, again, at soundmeditation.com, and all the resources that he has put together in this site, I started to have a revelation that, in fact, if the sound quality could be increased, to the level of ultimately what we do, that the psychedelic experience would also be raised to a bar that actually almost no one has experienced to date. And this is a subject which I'm going to engage specifically in further videos, but I wanted to sort of lay out the ground here for a really rather challenging assumption, which is that psychedelics combined with high quality sound result in a more effective experience, a more transformative, powerful, and emotional experience, because the nature of the experience has to do with sound, which is energy. And if the energy is being conducted into your organism in the most powerful and effective way, the experience that you're going to have will be commensurately more powerful and more successful and transformative.